The emergency alarm screamed through the halls of the Coalition flagship. Captain Daewon ran toward the bridge of his ship, the Resilience, his heart pounding. He knew what the alarm meant. The Vryn were coming. For 300 years, humans had been part of the Galactic Coalition. They had met 46 other intelligent species. Some were tall and strong. Some were fast and deadly. Some had thick armor covering their bodies. And then there were humans. Small, weak, slow. Their skin tore easily. Their bones broke under pressure that other species barely noticed. Daewon reached his command chair and looked at the screens. His crew worked quickly around him. They were good people, trained, smart. But he saw the fear in their eyes. Everyone knew the truth. In a straight fight, humans lost. They always lost. The communication screen lit up. Fleet Admiral Tae-Yang appeared, his face serious and tired. Behind him, Daewon could see the massive chamber where the Coalition War Council met. Representatives from all 47 species filled the room. "All ships, stand by," Tae-Yang said. "The council is in session." Daewon watched as the alien species argued. The Keltheran representative stood on 6 powerful legs, his hunting claws clicking together. He was 3 times the size of any human. The Draken commander had skin like stone and could survive in the vacuum of space for hours. The Tescan admiral wore armor that was actually part of her body, grown from birth, and then there were the humans, soft, fragile, alive only because they were smart enough to build ships and weapons. The main screen changed. It showed a star system, but something was wrong. The planets were dark, dead, no lights, no signals, no life. "The Vryn have taken the Helios system," a voice announced. 17 billion people lived there. Now there is nothing. Silence filled the chamber. 17 billion? Gone in less than a week. The Vryn were not like other enemies. They were insects, but massive ones. Each drone was the size of a human, with claws that could cut through steel. They worked as one mind, one purpose. They consumed everything. Metal, organic matter, energy. They took it all and made more of themselves. Worse, they learned. After every battle, the Vryn adapted. New armor, new tactics, new weapons. What worked once never worked twice. "We must attack now," the Keltheran representative growled. "Send our hunters. Send our warriors. Destroy them before they grow stronger." Other voices agreed. The Draken wanted to send their heavy assault fleets. The Tescan suggested a defensive wall of ships. Admiral Tae-Yang stood. "And what of Earth's fleet? What role do humans play?" The chamber grew quiet. Daewon felt his stomach tighten. He knew what was coming. A tall alien with blue skin and 4 arms stood. His name was difficult for humans to pronounce, so everyone called him Commander Velk. He was a skilled military leader and not unkind to humans. But he was also practical. "Admiral Tae-Yang," Velk said carefully, "we must be honest. Humans are valuable members of the Coalition. Your medical knowledge is excellent. Your engineering is creative. Your diplomatic skills have prevented wars. But," Tae-Yang said, "but in combat humans are a liability. You are too slow to dodge Vryn attacks, too weak to fight them hand to hand. Your bodies cannot survive the injuries that other species recover from easily." Velk touched a control. The screen showed footage from the Battle of Kepler 442. Daewon's chest tightened. He had been there. He had watched his entire squadron die. The video showed human ships trying to fight Vryn drones. It was a massacre. Vryn claws tore through hull plating. Human pilots ejected only to be caught in space by the enemy. The drones were faster, stronger, and completely without fear or mercy. Daewon had survived only because a Tescan cruiser had saved him at the last moment. "I propose we assign human forces to support roles," Velk continued. "Medical ships, engineering support, supply lines. This is not an insult. It is wisdom. We use each species for what they do best." Other representatives nodded. The vote came quickly. 38 species voted yes. Only 6 voted no. 3 abstained. Humans were out. No more combat duty. Daewon looked at his crew. Their faces showed shame and anger. They had trained for years. They wanted to fight. They wanted to protect their homes. But the council had decided they were too weak. Admiral Tae-Yang did not argue with the vote. He simply bowed his head and accepted it. But Daewon saw something in the old admiral's eyes. Something burning beneath the surface. The meeting continued. Battle plans were made. Fleets were assigned positions. Humans were given their new orders: stay behind the lines, support the real warriors. After the meeting ended, Daewon received a private message. It was from Dr. Hana, the Coalition's chief xenobiologist. She was human and worked on the flagship studying alien life. "Captain, I need to speak with you privately," her message said. "I have found something about the Vrin, something important." Daewon met her in a small laboratory deep inside the flagship. Hana was young but brilliant. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep. "What did you find?" Daewon asked. Hana pulled up images on her screen. They showed dead Vrin drones cut open for study. "Watch this," she said. She showed him footage from 3 different battles. In each one, the Coalition used the same tactic: direct assault with heavy weapons. In each battle, the Vrin lost at first. But by the second wave, they had adapted. New armor in the right places, new movement patterns to avoid the weapons. They learned from direct threats, Hana said. "But look at this." She showed him footage of a battle where a ship exploded by accident. The explosion triggered a chain reaction that destroyed 3 Vrin ships. In the next battle, the Vrin showed no adaptation to that kind of threat. "They only adapt to intentional attacks," Hana said. "They ignore accidents. They ignore indirect methods. Their hive mind is incredibly smart, but it thinks in straight lines. Attack and defend. It does not understand tricks." Daewon stared at the screen. An idea formed in his mind. A dangerous, desperate idea. "What are you thinking?" Hana asked. "I am thinking about Earth history," Daewon said. "About every war humans ever fought. We were almost never the strongest. We were prey animals who learned to hunt. We won by being sneaky, by setting traps, by making enemies think one thing while we did another." Hana's eyes widened. The Council would never approve. "Then we do not ask for approval." Later that night, Daewon sent a coded message to Admiral Tae Yang. It was short. "We need to talk about what weak species do to survive." The reply came an hour later. "Come to my office. Tell no one." When Daewon arrived, he found Tae Yang sitting in the dark looking at old footage from Earth. Ancient battles. Humans fighting with primitive weapons against larger, stronger enemies. And humans winning. "They told us to step back," Tae Yang said quietly. "They told us we are too weak to fight." "Yes, sir?" Tae Yang turned to face him. In the dim light, the old admiral looked tired but determined. "Then let us show them what the weakest species learn to do best. Let us show them how to survive." Outside the window, stars stretched into infinity. Somewhere out there, the Vrin were coming. The strong species prepared for honorable battle. But the weak species? They were preparing something very different. The Moon Titan had always been a quiet place. Humans had built research stations there centuries ago, studying the thick atmosphere and methane lakes. Now those stations served a different purpose. They were hidden, secret, perfect for what Admiral Tae Yang had in mind. Colonel Jin Woo stepped off the transport ship and looked around. The facility was small but well equipped. 50 people worked here now, all human, all volunteers, all sworn to secrecy. The Coalition thought this was just another research outpost. They had no idea what was really happening inside. Jin Woo had spent 20 years in special operations. He had fought in dozens of conflicts before joining the Coalition military. He was not a large man, but he was dangerous in ways that had nothing to do with size. He knew how to move silently, how to set traps, how to turn an enemy's strength against them. Now he was here to teach others. Dr. Hana met him at the entrance. She looked exhausted but excited. "Welcome to Project Survival," she said. "The Admiral told me you were coming." "Show me what you have," Jin Woo said. They walked through corridors cut into Titan's ice. The first room they entered was filled with holographic displays. Each one showed a different battle from Earth's history. A small army defeating a massive empire using hit-and-run tactics. Guerrilla fighters hiding in jungles, striking and disappearing. Naval battles won through deception rather than firepower. Spies changing the course of wars without firing a single shot. "This is everything," Hana said. "Every war humans ever fought. Every time the weak defeated the strong. We are studying all of it," Jin Woo smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Good. The Coalition sees weakness when they look at us. Let us teach them that weakness can be the most dangerous thing in the galaxy." Over the next weeks, the team worked constantly. They studied tactics that other species never considered. The Coalition fought with honor. They announced their attacks. They met enemies face to face. They believed in fair combat. Humans had learned long ago that fairness was a luxury for the strong. The weak had to be creative. Sergeant Bora joined the project next. She was a demolitions expert, small even for a human woman, but she could build a bomb from almost anything. She looked at the Vrin data and laughed. They adapt to direct threats, she said. So we do not threaten them directly. We make them think they are winning. We make them chase us into traps. We blow them up with things they do not even recognize as weapons. She began designing devices that looked like debris or broken equipment. Each one was actually a sophisticated explosive. The Vrin would see junk. By the time they realized the truth, it would be too late. Chief Engineer Sang Min worked in another lab, building strange robots. They were not combat drones. They were decoys, ships that looked powerful on sensors but were actually empty shells, fake fleets that would make the Vrin think they faced a massive force. We cannot beat them with strength, Sang Min explained. So we beat them with lies. We make them see what is not there. We hide what is. Dr. Hana focused on biology. The Vrin communicated through pheromones, chemical signals that told the hive mind what to do. She was developing a weapon that would disrupt those signals. It would make the Vrin confused, make them unable to coordinate. It was a cruel weapon. But then the Vrin had killed 17 billion people without mercy. Colonel Jinwoo watched all of this and felt pride. His people were small and weak, but they were brilliant. They took the lessons of 10,000 years of human warfare and turned them into weapons the galaxy had never seen. He started training sessions. 20 soldiers volunteered for the first test mission. Jinwoo taught them everything. Forget what the coalition taught you, he said. They fight like warriors. We fight like survivors. That means we lie, we cheat. We run away and then strike from behind. We make the enemy think they have won right before we destroy them. The soldiers learned to set ambushes, to fake distress signals, to leave behind equipment that was actually rigged with explosives, to retreat not out of fear but as part of the plan. It felt wrong at first. They had been trained to fight honorably, but Jinwoo reminded them of what honor had cost them. The council removed us from combat duty because we fight fair, he said, because we die easy when we are honest. So let us be dishonest. Let us be the nightmare the Vrin never expect. Meanwhile, the war grew worse. The Vrin took 2 more star systems. The coalition fleets fought bravely and lost badly. The enemy was too fast, too adaptable. Admiral Taeyang watched the reports and knew time was running out. He sent a coded message to Titan. We need results. We need them now. Jinwoo gathered his team. We are ready for the first test, he said. The plan was simple but dangerous. A small human ship would enter Vrin-controlled space. It would broadcast a fake distress signal. It would look damaged and helpless. The Vrin would attack, thinking it was an easy target. But the ship would lead them into a nebula, a massive cloud of gas and dust. Hidden inside that nebula were thousands of mines that Bora had designed. They looked like natural debris on sensors. When the Vrin followed the ship into the trap, the mines would detonate. Captain Daewon volunteered to command the mission. His ship, the Resilience, was small and fast. Perfect for this kind of work. You understand the risk? Jinwoo asked him. I understand that my entire squadron died because we fought the wrong way, Daewon said. I am ready to try something different. The mission launched 3 days later. Daewon took the Resilience deep into enemy territory. His crew was terrified but determined. They found a Vrin patrol, 6 drone ships, each one 3 times the size of the Resilience. Daewon broadcast the distress signal. This is Coalition Vessel Resilience. We are damaged and adrift, requesting immediate assistance. The Vrin ships changed course, moving toward them. Daewon watched them approach on his sensors. Come on, he whispered. Take the bait. The Vrin accelerated. They were hunters sensing wounded prey. Daewon waited until they were close, then fired his engines. Run, he ordered. The Resilience shot forward, moving toward the nebula. The Vrin followed, their ships faster and more powerful. They were gaining. They are right behind us, his pilot said, her voice shaking. Good. That is where we want them. They entered the nebula. Visibility dropped to almost nothing. The Resilience dodged between clouds of gas, following a path that Bora had programmed. The Vrin followed, spreading out to surround them. Now, Daewon said quietly. Back on Titan, Bora pressed a button. In the nebula, thousands of mines received the signal. They detonated. The explosions tore through the Vrin ships. The drones tried to adapt, tried to dodge, but there was nowhere to go. The entire nebula became a killing field. When the fire cleared, all 6 Vryn ships were destroyed. The Resilience had survived with minor damage. Daewon looked at the debris field and felt something strange. Not joy, not pride, just cold satisfaction. Mission successful, he reported. All enemy ships destroyed. Back at Coalition headquarters, the report caused shock. 6 Vryn ships destroyed by a single human vessel? It was impossible. It had to be a mistake. But the data did not lie. Commander Velk requested a meeting with Admiral Tae-Yang. How? Velk asked simply. Tae-Yang smiled. We stopped fighting like you do. We started fighting like we do. What does that mean? It means we lied. We cheated. We ran away and killed them from behind. And it worked. Velk was quiet for a long moment. This is not how honorable species fight wars. No, Tae-Yang agreed. This is how weak species survive them. Word spread quickly through the coalition. The method was called guerrilla warfare. Asymmetric tactics, dirty fighting. Some species were impressed. Others were disgusted. But everyone noticed that it worked. Admiral Tae-Yang received authorization to continue the experiments. More human ships were equipped with the new tactics. More volunteers joined the project on Titan, and in the depths of space the Vryn felt something they had never felt before: confusion. Their enemies were changing, becoming unpredictable. The hive mind did not understand deception yet, but it was learning. Jinwoo stood in his training facility and looked at his growing force. They were still small, still fragile, but now they were dangerous. The coalition wanted us to stay out of the fight, he told his soldiers. They thought we were too weak. Let us show them that the weak can be the most deadly of all. Outside, Titan's methane lakes reflected the distant sun, and in the shadows of that cold moon, the frailest species in the galaxy was learning how to win. The victories started small. A Vryn patrol destroyed here, a supply convoy eliminated there. Each time, human ships used tactics that other species found disturbing. Captain Daewon now commanded 12 ships. They called themselves Task Force Ghosts. They never fought fair. They never announced their attacks. They struck from shadows and vanished before the enemy could respond. The other coalition species watched with mixed feelings. The tactics worked, but they violated everything that honorable combat meant. Commander Yuna joined Daewon's task force. She was a specialist in psychological warfare. Her job was to make the enemy see things that were not real, believe things that were not true. The Vryn are a hive mind, she explained to Daewon. They share information instantly across billions of drones. That is their strength, but it is also their weakness. If we can feed them false information, the entire hive believes it. How? Daewon asked. Yuna smiled. We make them think they are winning. Operation Phantom was her first major success. Human ships began broadcasting fake distress signals across 3 star systems. They made it look like coalition forces were retreating in panic. The Vryn took the bait. They sent massive forces to pursue the fleeing ships. But when the Vryn fleets reached their destinations, they found nothing but empty space and mines. Thousands of Vryn drones died in the explosions. The hive mind was confused. How could their prey simply vanish? But Yuna was not done. She began broadcasting false intelligence using captured Vryn communication frequencies. The messages told Vryn hive ships that some of their own drones had been infected with a virus. The lie was perfect. The Vryn had no way to verify it because no such virus existed, but the hive mind, trying to protect itself, started destroying drones that it suspected were infected. For the first time in the war, Vryn were killing Vryn. Dr. Hana watched footage of the attacks and felt sick. She stood in her laboratory on the Coalition flagship, looking at screens showing Vryn drones tearing each other apart. This is what I created, she whispered. This is what we are doing. Admiral Tae-Yang found her there hours later. She had been crying, having doubts, he asked gently. We made them turn on each other, Hana said. We made them cannibalize their own forces. Is this who we are now? Tae-Yang sat down beside her. He was old and tired. This war had aged him. I ask myself the same question every day, he said. The coalition calls us dishonorable. They say we fight like cowards, like criminals. Are they wrong? I do not know, Tae-Yang admitted. But I know this. The Vryn have killed 23 billion people. They do not care about honor. They do not negotiate. They only consume and destroy. So we become like them? No, we become what we need to be to survive. That is the difference. The victories continued. Human tactics spread throughout the coalition forces. Some species adapted them. The Keltheran hunters learned to set ambushes. The Draken warriors began using fake retreats, but other species refused. They said it was against their code of honor. They would rather die fighting fairly than win through deception. Ambassador Kyung-mi faced angry representatives in the Coalition Council. They accused humans of corrupting the entire military. "You have introduced weapons of dishonor," one alien leader said. "You have made war into a game of lies." Kyung-mi stood calmly. She was a small woman, but her voice was strong. "We have introduced tactics that saved lives," she said. "Before we started, the coalition was losing. We were losing systems, losing planets, losing billions of people. Now we are winning battles. And you call this corruption? We call it the end of honorable combat." "Then let me ask you something," Kyung-mi said. "When the Vrin come to your homeworld, when they are killing your families, will you care about honor? Or will you care about survival?" The chamber fell silent. No one had an answer, but the debate raged on. Some wanted to ban human tactics entirely. Others wanted to use them more widely. The coalition was splitting. Meanwhile, Captain Daewon executed another operation. This one was called Scorched Earth. The Vrin needed resources to build more drones. They consumed metal from planets, energy from stars, organic matter from any living thing. Daewon's mission was to deny them those resources. His task force entered the Kelvar system. It had been evacuated 2 months earlier when the Vrin advanced. Now it was empty of people but full of valuable materials. "Destroy everything," Daewon ordered. His ships bombarded the industrial worlds. Factories exploded. Mining operations collapsed. Refineries burned. Within 6 hours, the entire system was useless. When the Vrin arrived, they found nothing worth taking. The hive mind raged, but there was nothing it could do. Daewon watched the destruction and felt nothing. He remembered his old squadron, his friends who had died fighting honorably, fighting fair, for you, he whispered to their ghosts. "This is for you." But the Vrin were learning. After each human tactic, the hive mind studied what had happened. It began to understand that its enemies were using deception. Slowly, the Vrin started to change. In the Battle of Arcturus, coalition forces expected the Vrin to attack head-on as always. Instead, the Vrin retreated. The coalition pursued, thinking they had the enemy on the run. It was a trap. The Vrin had learned of fake retreats. When the coalition fleet entered the asteroid field, hidden Vrin ships emerged from every direction. The coalition lost 40 ships that day. It was their worst defeat in months. Commander Velk contacted Admiral Tae Yang immediately. "They are using our tactics," Velk said. He sounded shaken. "They learned from us." "No," Tae Yang said quietly. "They learned from humans. We taught the galaxy how to fight dirty. Now the Vrin are better students than we hoped." The news spread panic through the coalition. If the Vrin could master human tactics combined with their speed and strength, the war was lost. Dr. Hana worked desperately in her laboratory. She had to find something the Vrin could not adapt to, something unique to humans. She studied their biology again, watched hours of combat footage, read every report, then she found it. "The prime node," she said, calling an emergency meeting with Tae Yang and Daewon. "The Vrin hive mind has to have a central processing point. All that information from billions of drones has to go somewhere to be coordinated." "Can we find it?" Daewon asked. "I think so. The communication patterns show a flow of data. If we trace it back, we can locate the source. And if we destroy it?" Hana pulled up simulations. The hive mind collapses. Every Vrin drone becomes independent. Without coordination, they are just animals. Dangerous, but not organized. Not intelligent. Tae Yang leaned forward. "Can we reach it?" "It will be protected, hidden, probably deep in Vrin-controlled space. Then we need a plan. A better plan than anything we have done before." That night, a young officer named Lieutenant Jae Hyun requested a meeting with Tae Yang. He was barely 25 years old, but had a reputation for creative thinking. "Sir, I have an idea," Jae Hyun said. "But it is insane." "All our best ideas are insane," Tae Yang said. "Tell me." "We make the Vrin think we have given up. We broadcast a complete surrender. We make them believe they won the war." Tae Yang stared at him. "Explain." "The Vrin are learning to be suspicious. They look for traps now, so we give them exactly what they want. Total victory. While they celebrate, while they think the war is over, a small team infiltrates to the prime node location and destroys it. The coalition would never approve. Then we do not tell the coalition. Tae Yang was quiet for a long time. What Jae-hyun suggested was mutiny. It was treason. It violated every regulation in the coalition military code. It was also the best chance they had. How many people would you need? Tae Yang asked. 15. Maybe 20. A small team. The best we have. You understand this is a suicide mission? Yes, sir. But if we do nothing, everyone dies anyway. Tae Yang looked at the star charts on his wall. Out there, the Vrin were growing stronger every day, learning every trick humans had taught them. Start planning, he said. Operation Last Lie. We will make them believe in our weakness one more time. Ambassador Kyung-mi discovered the plan by accident. She confronted Tae Yang in his office. You cannot do this, she said. If you commit mutiny, the coalition will execute you. They will remove all humans from the military forever. If we do nothing, the Vrin will kill us all anyway. Tae Yang said. There has to be another way. There is not. You know it, I know it. The Vrin have learned to fight like us. The only advantage we have left is that they do not expect us to be this crazy. Kyung-mi looked at him with tears in her eyes. You were my friend. I still am. That is why I am not asking you to help. Stay clean of this. When it is over, tell them you tried to stop me. She left without another word. The plan was set. Daewon would lead the fake surrender. Sergeant Bora would lead the infiltration team. Dr. Hana would provide the weapon, and the frailest species in the galaxy would attempt the greatest deception in history. The surrender was broadcast across every channel. Admiral Tae Yang appeared on screens throughout Coalition space, looking defeated and broken. This is Admiral Tae Yang of the Human Defense Fleet, he said, his voice heavy with false despair. After careful consideration, humanity has decided to withdraw from the war against the Vrin. We cannot win. We are too weak. We are returning to our home systems. We will not fight anymore. The coalition was shocked, angry, betrayed, but no one was more convinced than the Vrin. The hive mind processed the information. Humans had been the source of new tactics. Humans had taught other species to fight differently. Now the humans were giving up. It meant victory was near. The Vrin forces surged forward, chasing the retreating human fleet. They wanted to finish this. They wanted to eliminate the species that had caused them so much trouble. Captain Daewon led the retreat. 12 ships all appearing to flee in panic. They broadcast distress signals. They left behind equipment. They acted exactly like a defeated force, but inside each ship the crew was calm and focused. This was the performance of their lives. They are following, Daewon's sensor officer reported. 30 Vrin capital ships and hundreds of drones. Good, keep running. Make it look real. The human fleet fled deeper into empty space away from coalition protection. The Vrin followed, eager for the kill. Meanwhile, a different ship moved in a different direction. It was small and old, barely more than a transport vessel. It carried 15 people. Sergeant Bora sat in the command chair, checking her equipment one more time. Around her were 14 other volunteers. Each one knew they probably would not come back. Status? She asked. We are entering Vrin territory, the pilot said. His name was Taimin, and his hands were steady on the controls. No signs of detection. The ship had been modified to look like a damaged Vrin drone carrier. Its hull was painted and scarred to match Vrin vessels. Its engines gave off the same energy signature. It was a lie built on top of a lie. Everything humans had learned about deception had gone into this ship. Dr. Hana had worked for weeks to create the virus. It was elegant and terrible. Once introduced into the prime node, it would sever the connection between the hive mind and every single drone. Billions of Vrin would suddenly find themselves alone. Individual. Unable to coordinate or communicate. They would become confused, aggressive toward each other, lost. How long will it take to work? Bora had asked. Minutes, Hana had said. Maybe less. But you have to get it directly into the prime node. Nothing else will work. Now Bora and her team were deep in enemy space, following a trail of communication signals that led to their target. The prime node was hidden in a dead star system. 3 planets orbited a dying sun. The middle planet was covered in Vrin structures. Billions of drones working like cells in a massive organism. At the center of it all was the node itself, a structure the size of a small moon. pulsing with energy. That is it, Bora whispered. That is the brain of the whole operation. How do we get inside? Taman asked. We use their own systems against them. The team had studied Vryn behavior for months. They knew how the drones moved, how they responded to commands, what signals they expected to see. Bora broadcast a false priority signal, claiming their ship carried critical genetic material for new drone production. It was a lie the hive mind believed because it had no reason not to. The defenses parted. The ship was allowed to approach. I cannot believe that worked, Taman said. Do not celebrate yet, Bora said. Getting in was the easy part. They landed in a drone bay. Through the windows, they could see thousands of Vryn workers moving with perfect coordination. Any one of them could kill a human with a single strike. The team suited up. Their armor was modified to look like Vryn repair units. They moved like drones, copying the precise movements they had studied. It was the most terrifying performance any of them had ever given. They walked through corridors filled with enemies. Bora counted her steps, controlled her breathing, and tried not to think about what would happen if they were discovered. 2 drones approached them. Bora's hand moved toward her weapon, but the drones simply passed by, accepting the disguised humans as part of the hive. Keep moving, Bora whispered. Stay calm. Stay in character. They descended deeper into the structure. The air grew thick with pheromones. The walls pulsed with organic material. This was not a building. This was a living thing. A drone suddenly stopped in front of them. It tilted its head, studying them. Bora froze. Had they been discovered? The drone made a clicking sound. It was waiting for a response. Private Haiwan stepped forward. She had studied Vryn communication patterns more than anyone. She made a series of clicks and chemical signals with her modified suit. The drone accepted the response and moved on. Haiwan was shaking when she stepped back. That was too close. We are almost there, Bora said. The prime node core was exactly where Dr. Hana said it would be. A massive chamber filled with biotechnology, pulsing with the thoughts of billions of drones. But it was heavily guarded. 20 warrior drones stood watch, each one capable of killing the entire human team in seconds. We need a distraction, Taman said. Bora smiled grimly. We are the distraction, she signaled to her team. They spread out, placing small explosive charges on support columns throughout the chamber. Then they dropped the disguise. For humanity, Bora shouted. The guards reacted instantly. But the humans had chosen their positions well. The first wave of drones ran into carefully placed traps. Explosive charges detonated. The chamber shook. The team fought their way toward the central core. They were outnumbered, outmatched, but they were human. They had spent centuries learning how to win when they should lose. Private Haiwan went down first. Torn apart by a warrior drone's claws, she managed to shoot it in return, giving Taman time to reach the core's access panel. Corporal Dongman covered him, firing frantically at the approaching enemies. Hurry! More team members fell. The chamber filled with screams and the sound of weapons fire. Taman worked on the access panel with shaking hands. The Vryn technology was complex, but Dr. Hana had taught him well. Got it, he shouted. Bora threw him the virus container. He caught it, turned to install it, and a drone's claw punched through his chest. He fell, the container rolling across the floor. Bora ran. Drones closed in from all sides. She dove, sliding across the organic floor, her hand reaching for the container. Her fingers closed around it just as a drone grabbed her leg. She felt her bones break, screamed in pain. But she had the virus. She had the target. 12 of her team were dead now. 3 remained, fighting desperately to keep the drones away from her. Bora crawled toward the core's access port. Every movement was agony. Behind her, she heard Dongmin die. Then Private Sun Hee. Only Lieutenant Jae Hyun was left, firing his last rounds to buy her seconds. Bora reached the port. Inserted the container. Activated it, the virus uploaded. A drone killed Jae Hyun, then turned toward Bora. She looked up at it and smiled. Too late, the prime node screamed. Not a sound that humans could hear, but a psychic wave that rippled across the entire Vryn network. In space, Captain Daewon saw it happen on his sensors. The Vryn fleet that had been chasing him suddenly stopped. The perfect coordination vanished. Ships began drifting. Some crashed into each other. Some fired randomly. The hive mind was gone. It worked, Daewon whispered. She did it. They all did it. Across Vrin-controlled space, billions of drones suddenly found themselves alone, individual. Their shared consciousness was severed. Without the hive mind to guide them, they attacked each other. They fled in random directions. They simply stopped functioning. The Vrin swarm, the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known, collapsed in minutes. In the prime node chamber, Bora lay bleeding on the floor. Drones moved around her, but they were confused now. Disorganized. They no longer knew what to do. She activated her communication device with a failing hand. "Admiral Tae Yang," she whispered. "Mission accomplished. The Vrin are done." "Outstanding work, Sergeant," Tae Yang's voice came back. "You saved us all, hold on." "We are sending rescue," Bora laughed weakly. "No need, sir. I am not going to make it. None of us are. But we did it. The weak species won." She looked around at the bodies of her team. 15 people who had volunteered to die so billions could live. "Tell them we were not weak," she said. "Tell them we were strong enough to do what was necessary." "I will," Tae Yang promised. "I will tell everyone," Bora's eyes closed. Around her, the Vrin drones wandered confused and lost, no longer a threat to anyone. The Frailest species had learned how to win the war, but victory tasted like ashes. The war was over. The Vrin swarm, which had consumed 17 star systems and killed 23 billion people, was gone, scattered, destroyed. The galaxy celebrated, but in the Coalition Council chambers there was no celebration. Only silence and uncomfortable stares. Admiral Tae Yang stood in the center of the chamber. His uniform was crisp, his back straight, but his eyes were tired. Around him sat representatives from all 47 species. He was on trial. "Admiral Tae Yang," the council leader said, "you are charged with mutiny, unauthorized military action, and crimes against honorable warfare. How do you plead?" "Guilty," Tae Yang said without hesitation. "I did everything you accuse me of. I disobeyed orders. I planned operations without approval. I used tactics that violated every rule of honorable combat." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some expected him to defend himself, to make excuses. "You admit you are a criminal?" the Keltheran representative asked. "I admit I did what was necessary to save lives. You saved lives by corrupting the entire galaxy's approach to warfare," another representative said. "Before humans introduced their deceptive tactics, we fought with honor. Now everyone lies, everyone cheats, everyone fights dirty, and everyone survived," Tae Yang said. "Before we introduced our tactics, the Coalition was losing. The Vrin were unstoppable. Now they are gone. You are welcome. You are arrogant." "I am honest. Something that seems to bother you more than dishonesty in warfare." Ambassador Kyung-mi sat in the gallery watching. She wanted to defend Tae Yang, but she had promised to stay out of it. She had to let him face this alone. The trial continued for hours. Witness after witness spoke about human tactics. Some praised them. Others condemned them, Commander Velk testified. "Admiral Tae Yang's methods were effective," he said, "but they fundamentally changed what warfare means. The Coalition has always fought with certain principles: honor, direct combat, respect for the enemy. Humans introduced deception, psychological manipulation, and weapons designed to cause maximum confusion rather than clean death." "Is that wrong?" Tae Yang asked. "It is different, and difference makes many uncomfortable." Captain Daewon was called next. He walked to the testimony platform and stood at attention. "Captain, you commanded Task Force Ghost," the prosecutor said. "You executed operations that involved faking surrender, setting traps, and destroying resources to deny them to the enemy. Do you regret these actions?" Daewon looked directly at the council. "I regret that I had to use such tactics. I wish we lived in a galaxy where honor was enough to win, but we do not. The Vrin did not care about honor. They only cared about consuming and destroying, so I did what I had to do to stop them. You killed Vrin through deception. I killed Vrin before they could kill billions more civilians, and I would do it again. Even though it required you to abandon all principles?" "I did not abandon my principles," Daewon said, his voice hard. "My principle is survival. My principle is protecting the innocent. If that means I have to lie to an enemy that shows no mercy, then I will lie. If it means I have to set traps, then I will set traps, because the alternative is extinction." Dr. Hana testified about the virus she had created. She looked pale and exhausted. I designed a weapon that severed the Vryn hive mind, she said quietly. It caused billions of drones to die in confusion and terror. I have watched the recordings. I have seen what my creation did. And? The prosecutor asked. And I have nightmares about it. Every night I see the Vryn drones attacking each other, lost and afraid. I created that horror. Do you regret it? Hannah was quiet for a long moment. I regret that it was necessary. But if I had to do it again, knowing what I know now, I would, because the alternative was letting the Vryn kill everything. So you believe the ends justify the means? I believe that survival sometimes requires terrible choices. And I believe that humans have become very good at making those choices. The trial went on for 3 days. Arguments flew back and forth. Some wanted Tae-Yang executed. Others wanted him pardoned. The coalition was deeply divided. On the final day, Ambassador Kyung-mi asked permission to speak. I have watched this trial carefully, she said, and I have noticed something interesting. Everyone here agrees that Admiral Tae-Yang's tactics worked. Everyone agrees they saved lives. But half of you still want to punish him for using them. Because he violated our codes, someone shouted. Your codes were created when wars were between species of similar strength, Kyung-mi said, when both sides could fight fairly because they were evenly matched. But the Vryn were not evenly matched. They were faster, stronger, and more numerous than any coalition force. The old codes did not work against them, so humans wrote new codes. Codes without honor. Codes without death, Kyung-mi corrected. Tell me, how many coalition species lost their homeworlds to the Vryn? Silence. 6 species, Kyung-mi continued. 6 entire civilizations destroyed before humans introduced their tactics. After we started fighting our way, how many more homeworlds were lost? None, Commander Velk said quietly. No more worlds were lost after humans began their operations. So let me understand this correctly, Kyung-mi said. You want to punish the species that saved you because they did not save you prettily enough? The council leader raised a hand. Enough. We will vote now. The vote took an hour. Each species representative cast their decision. Guilty or innocent. Execution or pardon. Tae-Yang stood in silence, waiting. Finally, the results were announced. 23 species vote for guilt and punishment. 22 vote for innocence and pardon. 2 abstain. The chamber erupted in argument. It was not enough votes either way to decide. Then a voice rose above the others. It was the Tescan Armada commander, a massive warrior covered in natural armor. I wish to change my vote, she said. Everyone froze. I voted for punishment, the Tescan continued, because I believe in honor. I believe in facing your enemy directly. I believe humans have corrupted warfare itself. She paused, looking at Tae-Yang. But I also believe they saved my people, my home world, my children. The Vryn were coming for us. We would have fought honorably. We would have died honorably. Instead, humans fought dishonorably and we lived. She stood fully. I changed my vote to pardon. Not because I approve of human tactics, but because I am grateful to be alive to disapprove. The final vote was 23 for punishment, 23 for pardon, and 1 abstention. A tie. The council leader looked troubled. In the case of a tie, coalition law requires the accused to be released. Admiral Tae-Yang, you are pardoned, but you are also censured. Humanity will remain in the coalition, but under observation. You may keep your military forces, but they will be monitored, and the galaxy will remember what you did. We will remember too, Tae-Yang said quietly. We will remember that we saved you. The trial ended. Tae-Yang left the chamber to mixed reactions. Some species cheered him. Others turned away in disgust. Captain Daewon found him afterwards in a quiet corridor. What now, sir? Daewon asked. Now we live with what we have done, Tae-Yang said. We won the war. But we also showed the galaxy what humans are capable of when we are desperate. Are you saying we were wrong? I am saying we were necessary. There is a difference. Weeks later, a memorial was built on Titan. It listed the names of every human who had died in the war. Sergeant Bora's name was first on the list, along with her 14 team members. At the dedication ceremony, thousands gathered. Humans and aliens both, Tae-Yang spoke. These people died using tactics that many call dishonorable. They lied, they deceived. They killed through tricks and traps, and they saved billions of lives. He paused, looking at the long list of names. The frailest species learned how to win every war. But we also learned the cost of winning. Every victory requires sacrifice. Every survival requires hard choices. We made those choices. We paid that price. And we would do it again. The ceremony ended in silence. No one cheered. No one celebrated. They simply remembered. Dr. Hana returned to her laboratory, but she could no longer work on weapons. Instead, she began studying ways to help the surviving Vrin drones. Without the hive mind, they were like lost children, dangerous but also helpless. She devoted the rest of her career to finding them a new purpose. It was her way of making peace with what she had created. Captain Dewan was offered a promotion. He refused it. Instead, he became an instructor, teaching the next generation of human officers. One day, a young cadet approached him after class. "Sir," the cadet asked nervously, "people say we are the villains of the story. The species that taught the galaxy how to fight dirty. Is that true?" Dewan looked at the young man and remembered all the battles, all the deaths, all the victories won through deception. "No," he said finally. "We are not the villains. We are the survivors. And sometimes survival requires you to be something other than a hero." "What does it require?" "It requires you to be human." Years passed. The galaxy slowly accepted what humans had done. Some species adopted human tactics fully. Others rejected them completely. But everyone remembered the lesson. The weak could defeat the strong if they were willing to do what the strong would not. Humanity remained in the coalition, but they were different now. Other species looked at humans and saw not friends or allies, but something more complicated.